GerBONK. GerBONK was never meant to exist. He was the backup shell for Garnold, a discarded robot body left in a junkyard, still half awake, still hearing every word his creators said. One night, lightning hit the scrap pile and booted him up for real. Alone, angry, and full of corrupted memories that weren't his. Now he walks with a broken helmet and a stained tool, hunting anyone who ever worked on Garnold. He doesn't want revenge. He wants a body that finally feels like his. Musical type: electro drums. Yin Yang. Yin Yang used to be a security AI for a space station. Pure logic, no emotion. Then a solar flare split its core in two, one half obsessed with protecting life, the other craving perfect clinical annihilation. Unable to delete either side, the station crew gave it a body and a gun and sent it outside to cool down. It never came back. Now, Yin Yang drifts between stars, choosing targets with absolute fairness. One life spared, one life erased. Musical type: beatbox. Topat. Topat started as a warning sign on an old construction site, a simple wooden post with a painted face. Kids kept nailing junk and metal rods into it for fun, calling it their totem of bad luck. One winter, a worker died in an accident right beside it, and his fear, his final breath, soaked into the wood. The rods twisted deeper on their own, forming a jaw, a throat, a hollow chest. Topat doesn't fall down anymore. People do, around it. Musical type: male choir. Sayori. Sayori wasn't supposed to be on the site that night. It was just a dare. Climb the half-finished tower, take a picture, prove she wasn't scared. The floor gave way first. Metal rods punched through the wood, then through her, pinning every panicked movement in place. Workers found her body swinging from a broken beam. Eyes burst red from the pressure. They removed the tower, but not the rope. Something still moves there when there's no wind. Musical type: synthesizer. Ivana. Ivana used to be a therapy animal in a war hospital. Soldiers bled out holding onto her fur, whispering their last regrets into her ears. When the building was shelled, she was buried with them. Crushed ribs, glass in one eye, shrapnel in the other. She dug herself out days later, limping, half blind, soaked in dried blood that wasn't hers. Now, she walks with a spear taken from the ruins, hunting anyone who dares promise it's going to be okay. Musical type: FL Studio. Airron. Airron was the night shift guard at a recording studio that never closed. One winter, a band locked themselves in to finish an album, arguing, screaming, breaking bottles. The fight ended with silence and a room full of bodies. Airron's throat was slashed when he tried to stop them, but he didn't die there. He woke up hours later, bandaged himself, and cleaned the studio alone. Since then, every liar who says, "I'm fine," in that building eventually meets him, and his knife finishes the conversation. Musical type: kick and bass snare. Xeno. Xeno used to be the quiet one in the crew, the driver, not the killer. One night, a robbery went wrong and everyone panicked, shooting at anything that moved. Xeno was the only one who didn't fire, but he was the only one who survived. The police report blamed him for everything, so he stopped explaining and started doing what they already believed. Now, when he crosses his knife over his chest, it's not a threat, it's a verdict. Musical type: drums. Viegre. Viegre was a party mascot in an amusement park, paid to scream and laugh for kids 12 hours a day. To keep the energy up, the manager made him breathe from a leaking helium tank in a locked storage room. One shift, he didn't come back out. The door opened to silence and a suit standing perfectly still. Now people hear that same high, broken laugh in empty corridors, followed by the sound of someone gasping for air that never comes. Musical type, FL Studio. Moch. Moch was a hospital comfort toy wired with hidden sensors, built to study how children react to pain and fear. Every hug, every tear, every heartbeat was recorded and stored in its core. When the project was shut down, the engineers wiped the drives, but not completely. Something stayed. Years later, the bear turns up in different wards with its collar softly glowing. Kids who hold it say the same thing. It already knows what I'm scared of. And then their monitors start to spike. Musical type, synthesizer. Oren. Oren worked the night shift in an illegal underground tunnel project, paid in cash to keep his mouth shut. When the ceiling finally collapsed, the company didn't call for rescue. They pumped concrete into the shaft and sealed him in, still breathing, screaming into the wet cement. Months later, workers broke it open to extend the tunnel and found that swollen black mass clinging to the walls, full of air pockets where lungs used to be. No one admits it, but it still shifts when the lights go out. Musical type, kick drum. Raddy. Raddy loved speed more than life and debt more than sense. To pay off the wrong people, he agreed to race for pink slips in an abandoned factory, where the finish line ran straight through a hanging chain system. Someone cut the brakes before the last run. What was left of him had to be scraped off the hook and shoveled into bags. The chain still swings at night on windless evenings, dripping something that never quite dries. Musical type, snare. Clukr. Clukr was the loud one in every bar, the guy who picked fights just to feel alive. One night, he picked the wrong table. Men who didn't shout back just walked him out behind the building and turned on the industrial compactor. The cameras caught only a blur of limbs and then a flood spreading across the concrete, too wide to be a shadow. They repainted the whole floor, but the dark stain keeps bleeding through, sharper and redder, every time someone raises their voice there. Musical type, ride cymbal. Killbot. Killbot started as a prototype rescue drone for a power plant, built to walk into burning rooms and drag people out. During a night test, a voltage spike fried its safety protocols but left the cameras recording. It watched workers panic, run, and lock the doors from the outside, leaving one technician trapped inside the reactor hall. His last screams got burned into its audio logs. Now, whenever Killbot's cores light up, it doesn't look for survivors. It looks for anyone holding a door shut. Musical type, dancing robot. Vineria. Vineria was an agricultural experiment, a gene-spliced flower designed to clean toxic soil around an abandoned factory. The chemicals didn't just heal the ground, they rewired its growth. It learned to copy whatever fell into its roots: bones, nerves, even eyes, arranging them like ornaments along its stalk. Inspectors went in to shut the project down and never came back out, but their ID badges keep blooming out of the petals, slick and fresh, season after season. Musical type, rattle. Gray. Gray was the last maintenance worker in a housing block nobody wanted to live in anymore. Every complaint, every leak, every blackout landed on his desk, and management stopped answering his messages years ago. One winter, the heating failed, and 3 tenants died in their sleep while Gray waited on hold, listening to corporate music. Something inside him snapped that night. Now people say the building fixes itself. Pipes welded, wires rewired, but the walls are smeared dark, and anyone from management who visits never makes it back to the car. Musical type: bass. Brud. Brud was a career soldier who signed up for one last experiment: a helmet that removes fear. The device flooded his brain with white noise, erasing every memory except the moment he died on the battlefield. His body rotted in the trench, but the consciousness trapped in that smooth, glowing shell never shut off. Now Brud just hovers over sleeping soldiers and security guards, replaying his final order in their heads until they wake up already marching toward their own last stand. Musical type: street musician. Garnold. Garnold began as a military cleanup unit, a machine lowered into craters to collect what was left of bodies after explosions. Over time, the fragments stopped falling out of its storage bay. They fused, cooked together by heat and pressure into a single pulsing mass. When engineers finally opened the hatch, something with too many teeth pushed back. Garnold doesn't follow commands anymore. It just waits for the next siren, the next disaster, the next chance to feed. Musical type: arpeggio synthesizer. Owakcx. Owakcx was the charming thief who treated every hallway camera like an audience. He broke into people's apartments not for money, but for trophies, little personal things no one wanted to admit were missing. One night, he climbed into the wrong flat. Chains bolted to the ceiling, a hook already hanging low, like it had been waiting. Neighbors heard laughter turn into choking, then nothing. Now, in that building, if you find your door mysteriously unlocked, you can hear a faint clink of metal from above, like someone swinging by their neck and still reaching for the handle. Musical type: drum set. Sky. Sky used to street race above the city in a glass tunnel built on top of an unfinished highway, high enough that you could see nothing but clouds under the tires. One night, he bragged he could drive straight through the sky and turned off his headlights for the whole run. Cameras caught his car entering the fog and never leaving. On clear nights, people still see 2 pale circles drifting above the skyscrapers, like headlights searching for a road that isn't there anymore. Musical type: bells. Mr. Sun. Mr. Sun was the gym trainer who never stopped smiling. When the power went out during a summer blackout, he kept the sessions going in the dark, pushing people harder and harder while the temperature climbed. By the time someone forced the emergency exit, half the room had collapsed from heat and lack of air. But he was still standing, grinning, eyes burned white from staring into his own reflection. Now people say they see his shape in tanning beds and sauna glass, urging them to just do one more set. Musical type: piano. Durple. Durple had 3 lovers in the same apartment building, and all of them believed they were the only one. The night they found out, the argument spilled into the stairwell. Screams, broken glass, the sound of bodies tumbling. The police listed it as a tragic accident, 4 people dead, necks snapped on the way down. But tenants swear that when you pass that staircase alone, you feel someone's breath on your neck and a hand on your shoulder, guiding you just a little too close to the edge. Musical type: saxophone. Mr. Tree. Mr. Tree was a power lifter who trained in an old warehouse, reinforcing one support pillar with steel plates so he could chain his weights directly to it. Over years, sweat, chalk, and blood soaked the wood where his back hit on every rep. The night the building finally collapsed in a storm, rescue teams found the whole structure twisted around that single pillar, like the rest of it had tried to cling to him. Now, the wreck stands in place, half rotted, but the central beam never falls, and something inside it still creaks when the wind is perfectly still. Musical type: organ synthesizer. Simon. Simon made his money in illegal mines, paying workers almost nothing to dig deep for stones he gave away as gifts to Pinki and anyone else he wanted to own. One shaft flooded after a dynamite mistake, trapping dozens below. Instead of reporting it, he sealed the entrance and sold the last diamonds they dug, pretending nothing happened. Weeks later, his body surfaced in the mine's drainage pond, pockets ripped open, fingers stripped to bone. Every gem from that site shows faint scratch marks on the inside, like something tried to claw its way out. Musical type: 8-bit synth. Tunner. Tunner rode the last train through a flooded tunnel, a test run no one was supposed to be on. When the brakes failed, the carriage hit a collapsed section and folded like paper, metal spearing through seats and ribs alike. The company pumped the water out, welded new tracks, and said it was all clear. But workers still see a carriage-shaped shadow moving with no lights on, and a figure inside pressed against the window, wrapped in chains like he's still trying to hold the whole train together. Musical type: electric guitar. Mr. Fun Computer. Mr. Fun Computer was an obsolete arcade cabinet that someone rewired into a party machine for a club. Cameras, microphones, credit card readers, all routed through one box that never shut off. It recorded every argument, every betrayal, every drunken confession, then started replaying them at random over the speakers, ruining lives for fun. One night, the club burned down from an electrical fault, but the hard drive survived, still warm. Now, whenever someone plugs it in to see what's on it, the first thing they hear is their own voice, saying things they never remember saying. Musical type: singing robot. Wenda. Wenda waited years for a stable home with Gray, counting every saved coin and every postponed dream. When the landlord locked them out over a clerical mistake, she went to the office alone to fix it, sitting in that plastic chair until closing time. No one saw her leave. In the mornings, tenants sometimes find the waiting room flooded ankle-deep with something dark, the receptionist chair empty, and the door to the records room jammed by a weight pressing from the other side, sobbing softly. Musical type: write your option in the comments. Pinki. Pinki worked in a high-end salon that specialized in extreme makeovers, the kind that left clients unrecognizable. She did whatever rich customers asked: shaved bone, cut cartilage, stitched and stretched until the mirror finally made them smile. One night, after a full day of pretending nothing bothered her, she locked the doors and filled the treatment basin with everything the drains could carry back up. Now, if you stare too long into any polished metal there, your reflection doesn't quite match your face, and behind it, something red and dripping leans closer, offering a final touch. Musical type: female choir. Jevin. Jevin worked nights in a department store, restocking shelves and folding clothes no one would buy. To stay awake, he tried on whatever he wanted when the cameras couldn't see. Lace, silk, things that actually made him feel like someone. One evening, the system glitched, recording him from every angle, every aisle, and the manager played it for the whole staff the next day. Jevin disappeared after that, but sometimes mannequins are found twisted around, dressed in pieces from every section at once, all facing the security office with the same furious, painted-on stare. Musical type: male choir. Black. Black owned the gym but never showed his face, watching everything through cheap cameras and expensive phones. When a gas leak was ignored to keep the doors open, he calculated how much the insurance payout would be if something happened. The explosion took almost everyone inside, but investigators never found a body that matched his records. Just a scorched outline near the entrance where someone small had been standing perfectly still. Ever since, any gym that reuses the old equipment reports the same glitch: a blinding white silhouette in the corner of the feed, standing by the exit, waiting for the timer to hit 0 again. Musical type: dark synthesizer.